Kia ora. No mai, haere mai. Hello and welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to be turning a dirty old pile of pallet wood into a magnificent Planterbox. Well, we're going to be making a Planterbox, so magnificent's probably a bit much, but yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, so welcome to beautiful Aotearoa, New Zealand, and yeah, let's get into it. My pallet wood pile, everything is soaked. There we go, folks. I've got my stock all made up, so I've got 3 at about a metre, another 4 at 1.2, and 2, 4, 6, 7 at 1.5. That's more material than I need, but I'll probably make some mistakes. Some of them haven't quite cleaned up properly, so particularly the longer ones, the 1.5s. So they may not get used for this project, but yeah, there we go. Basically that's 35mm square stock, more or less 4S, so square all around, good to go. Here's all the parts, got your 380s, etc. It's all come out pretty nicely considering what we started with. I'm going to freehand these guys. What could possibly go wrong, right? There we go, that's that job done. I'll come back and put dowels in later once it's dried. I don't want to be knocking them in now while all the glue's, like the ones up in this corner, are probably starting to set. I don't want to be whacking dowels in while they're in that kind of halfway state, but yeah, that's all done, solid as a rock. What I want to do is put a dowel across here, 45, to hold these guys together. There we go. So when that's all clamped up, that's nice and square, and the dowel right through there. So yeah, that'll make those corners nice and strong, so they won't be tempted to pull apart. The other option I thought of was to put a spline in there, but I just kind of felt that a dowel through there like that would be stronger, so that's what I've done. Rip down some these guys here, just out of scrap. Out of the bits that were left over from making these guys, that stack there, I'll just cut a row of slats to sit on the bottom. In previous designs, and I've done probably about 10 of these, I've always been in such a rush to get the slats on the sides and the top on that I forget about the bottom, and then it's really awkward reaching in to do all that. So I'm much happier this time I've remembered to do the slats at this point. So anyway. We've got some rough calculations here. The panels need to be 365 tall and they're going to end up about 95mm wide. The boards are 940 by 105, and the box is 1500 by 430. So I calculate that all out. It comes to about 40 panels and 20 boards, and I have about 30 there. So there we go, that's all done. So you want a gap between each one. When they get wet they swell. You want it to be nice and loose in there so they can move about. Good result. The next thing after that is to fit the top. We really start struggling for room in here. Anyway, that's tomorrow's problem. I got other stuff I got to do today. When I've gone and put the boards on the back, I've swapped them up with the boards I was originally had on the front. I've got one board to go and about 3 centimeters short. So what I'm going to do is, rather than cutting that board down 3 centimeters, I'll cut like a centimeter off each board. That way there won't be like just one little gimpy board hanging out. I put a little pin nail in the bottom of each one of these guys. Just holds it in place by the middle, so it can expand either side of that. And if it really wants to move sideways, there's not much holding force from that thing, so they can move sideways if they want. And there it is. So that's all dry fit. The corners line up nicely. All nice 45s. And yeah, so the next thing to do is to take the top rails off again and glue in the corners, and then put the dowels in, and that should be good to go. How much fun are glue ups, eh? That whole thing took me 43 minutes. It came out pretty well. I only had the idea to put the sash clamps on towards the end. I'm glad I did. Got some wood squeeze out in the corners for each leg. That's good. The dowels work really well. These little corner clamp situation to keep it square. It was a little bit out when I first put it together, but it came together nicely, so it's all nice and square. Alright, let's get this guy out of clamps. We'll trim up those dowels and then do a bit of sanding and patching, and get ready to paint. Top and corners all done. I'm pretty happy with all of that. It's all come together really nicely. Okay, so that's all sanded. It's just enough to break the edges. Painting next. Yeah, I've got one coat on. And it's not my favourite thing, as you might have been able to tell from the way I handle the brush, but came up okay. You broke it. Alright, the first bits of stock we're after is 4 stretchers. They're going to be 30 by 30 by 1500 long. I've got these 3 palletwood planks here. One's 940, the other's 1100. 2 of them are 940 and the other one's 1100, and they're each 25mm thick. So the Whoops, I probably should have looked at these photos of the old one. That's quite different to what I've sketched there. Completely ignoring the fact that that sketch is just an abomination. Anyway, that's what I'm supposed to be making. Alrighty, well, that was significantly more difficult than I was expecting it to be. Couple reasons. I think that's what's known as a climb cut. So the piece was trying to pull away from the fence instead of towards it. So that was awkward, and I think is a no-no when doing this stuff. So I wouldn't do that again. And I call that the hazards of filming while you work. This one has cuts on 3 sides, and I started the first cut on the one side that wasn't supposed to have a cut on it. Yeah, this didn't work at all the first time. I ended up having to do it from scratch, but I used the table saw top instead of my wonky workbench, and it worked out fine the second time. So this is a bit disappointing. My math has obviously not mathed for these middle bits. I've ended up 5mm out. 5mm? Yeah, roughly 5mm. It should be 615, and yeah, they're basically 610, 608 and 610. Alright, that was my first ever kickback, and that was a little bit scary. Just to explain what happened, when I first, the point of putting this block in is so that you can't get the wood trapped between the blade and the fence, because there's a nice big gap in there. But when I first did it, I only used this 6mm bit. So the gap between the blade and the fence was only about, I don't know, 2 centimeters, an inch maybe, which wasn't enough. So basically, when I wasn't paying attention, pushed this forward, tilted it, and it got jammed between the blade and the fence, and the blade threw it backwards. So yeah, lesson for new players. It felt a little bit, it didn't feel quite right when I started doing it, and yeah, I should have listened to that feeling and changed out to a bigger block. Yeah, so yeah, listen to your gut, people. If you think it's a bit sketchy, stop and have another think. Alright, so what we've made here is a edge jointing jig. With this, I've got a straight edge, both sides, that I can run along the fence, and I've got clamps that I can use to hold my workpiece down. Let's give it a go. Place it in the jig, let it overhang just a little bit, clamp it down. That's all nice and secure. This is essentially just one piece of wood. And there you go, nicely jointed board. Whether you can see that from there, but this edge is perfectly flat. There you have it. That's going to make my life a lot easier going forward. It doesn't matter how manky this edge is, I can always make this edge nice and flat all the way along. What I want to do is put a dowel across here, 45, to hold these guys together. So I've made a board that I can clamp to the side, and now I've set that up on a 45. So I'll take it over to the drill press and drill a hole right about there, going straight down, so that when I clamp it to the edge here, I can drill 45 through there. That's the plan anyway, so let's see how we go. Okay, this is my crosscut sled. You might recognise the design. It's by Tamar from 3x3. I used her video as inspiration, so I'll link to that down below if you want to have a look at making one yourself. Really light, easy to use. Yeah, I love it. I've got it set up to cut 45-degree miters. I've got a 45-degree line permanently marked on here, so I just line up this guy to that, and then I've got a mark for the stop block here. Workpiece just rests in up against those two guys, and I get a perfect 45-degree miter every time. Thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, really, thanks so much. Very patient. Consider a thumbs up, maybe a sub. Matewa. Bye for now. I'll catch you later.